Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned. But most importantly, we focus on the lessons learned for all of you, our listeners. I am your host. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist and consultant, and I specialize in working with service-based businesses who have relied on referrals and word of mouth, and they're ready to take their business to the next level. And they know in order to do that, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am so excited to welcome Laura Wright onto the show. Laura A. Wright is a coach and business consultant who transforms overworked and underpaid business women into seven-figure empire builders by creating structure in their business and showing them how to completely reframe how they think about their business model. Laura believes that when smart women hold true wealth, that is how we change the world. She is committed to helping brilliant-minded women who have amazing service to give to the world understand how to do it in a way that has them at their highest potential and making the most amount of money. Her big desire is for women to create their own economy. With that, I will welcome Laura onto the show.
Thank you, Kristi. I love that message. It's always fun to hear yourself be described. I'm like, what? Do I do that? Is that real? So thank you. And I'm just grateful to be here.
Yes, I'm so grateful to have you on the show. And I always like to let our listeners know how I met each of my guests. So Andrew Biernat gets a shout out today for connecting us. I don't remember, there wasn't really a specific reason, I don't think. He was just like, you two need to meet.
It was a nudge. I follow them, I request them. It's always those moments, when you know the people in your field and you're like, this one and this one, you'll create some magic, but just get to know each other. And every time I follow that, something great happens. So, yes, that's how we got connected. Big shout out to Andrew because he knows how to put people together.
Yes, he does. And we had such a great first conversation. I was like, absolutely, I need to bring you on my show and we will see what the future holds for us. But I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. When we were talking about you coming on the show, you mentioned you've worked with a lot of different marketers over the years in your business. And I love the philosophy that you shared. You said, um, nothing ever works and everything works, is what you
Yep.
said. And I love it because I've created posts about this on LinkedIn in the past. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but I have said, like, I do not promise outcomes to my
Mhm,
clients in terms of marketing because I just don't believe in that. I
mhm.
believe that if you create a strategic marketing plan aligned for you and your business, that the results will come. But I cannot promise results because everybody's plan looks different and everybody's results look a little different too. So when you said that, I was like, yes, we definitely need to have this conversation.
Simpatico. I have to say it too because I think we the only missteps I've really had with marketing have been when I've put pressure on something. And I think you get it. The concept of marketing is literally we put something out there and see how people respond and then we edit and adapt. And I think when you get rigid and you put something out and there's pressure, it never works because you don't give the second part, which is you have to edit and adapt after you put it out there. And then I like to call it stacking the universal deck in my favor. I have a little technique that I use for myself and all my clients to make sure we get our outcome no matter what techniques we use for marketing. And that has been, I think, a game changer for me and lets me feel very relaxed when I try something new.
I love that. I love that. Tell me more.
Like everybody wants to know. Okay, so here's the thing that I do, and I do this every time I invest. And the last time I did it was, well, not the last time, but one of the most memorable times was quite a few years back. I hired somebody that it was about $150,000 investment when all was said and done. It was for 12 months. There was a big video, there was a big funnel, there was a lot of coaching support. It was a big, big, big investment. So when I made the first yes, I almost immediately, I think it was maybe like a week later, I went and sold $100,000 package and brought in a client for myself. And in my mind, I said, this money covers this investment. So you get to relax and let it happen. And what was great about that is it did let me actually enjoy the process, be present. And I want you to hear what I did. I didn't wait to say yes and before I got a client. It was that I committed to the process and then I went and took action and got myself a result so that I could then relax and go through it. So I do this with all of my clients. Whenever they're about to go make a big investment, whenever they're about to go do something new, I say, let's claim it, commit to it, say yes. And then let's go sell something that gives you the like, oh, I feel relaxed while we do this versus putting the
Yes.
pressure on the process.
Yes, I love that. And I have, not that I've used those words, but I did have, it was earlier this year, I had a sort of similar conversation with someone who really wanted to work with me on content marketing, like getting their strategy in place for their content. And I was so excited, and I knew for sure that my process was going to help them with like the challenges they were having with like just being unclear in their messaging and who exactly they're targeting and all this stuff. And I was like, I really want to work with you. I know that this is going to be like really transformational for you. And they were like just really hesitant about making that investment. And they're like, well, I don't really have the money. And I said, I totally get it. I'm also a solo business owner. I've been in your shoes. And what I have found is that when you make that investment and you commit to it, something else comes along and like affirms your decision to do that.
It happens every single time. You make the decision, the universe conspires and opens the door so you get what you want. There's just one key factor. You have to make a full-fledged decision as opposed to half in, half out. I'm afraid or I'm putting pressure. I think that's the other side too, is I think you talk about this a lot, and it was something we really connected on, is that understanding of what is the role of the marketer. Like I would never show up on your doorstep and be like, hey, give me all my goods and it's all on you. Like I do understand there's two of us involved here. I, as the business owner, have to do my part. You also do your part. And I think if you can find people that you work in collaboration with, that is when the magic of marketing works versus when you put pressure on somebody else, even if they are a contractor you're hiring to do a job, you have to own your part in it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It's certainly a partnership. And that has been a theme that's carried over with some of my past guests as well is, some of the lessons that they've learned is like when they hired someone and they just expected like, oh, this is off my plate now. It's all on you. And they were
Mhm.
like, in hindsight, they're like, I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought that would be successful, that I could just hand it off and it wouldn't, it would all go well and I would get all these results and I didn't actually have to like,
Magic.
yeah, it doesn't work that way. I always tell people that there's no silver bullet, there's no magic wand when it comes to marketing. Like it's putting in the work, it's investing, it's having the patience and being consistent with execution.
Also, I'll tell you the magic secret of what works if you guys all want it, because I do love magic secrets. So I just experienced this with one of my beloved clients. The thing that works is the thing that you stick with. It's not sexy. It's not the thing most people want to hear, but I have to tell you, one of my beloved clients came back to me because while I don't focus on marketing on my side of the business, I'm all about sales and that side. Marketing is required. You need to attract the people to then close into the sales. And she came to me because she had spent about a year zipping around. A different funnel every month, a different this, a different that. Everything was different. And in April, we connected and she committed to keeping things the same. Here's what actually happened, and I love her, is it took us until August for her to stop like completely changing everything. And here's what happened as results. From August until October, she brought in, I'm gonna get the numbers wrong, but bear with me, about 21 new clients and over $275,000 worth of revenue because she stayed the path.
Yes.
Guess what's happening right now? We kept her on the same path and she's doing the exact same thing. She's already into enrollment for her next period. She's, I think, about halfway to her goal and she has until the end of January to hit it. So I just want everyone to really hear the thing that works is when you pick a system, a technique, a way of doing marketing, and you stick with it and you make little refinement versus constantly changing.
Yes. I love that point because I wanted to dive into this a little bit more is that, there is this like fine line balance. And again, this is something I've talked about with other guests on the show is like marketing is not a like set it and forget it. Like, okay, you got my plan. Like, here we go. We're good. And you just don't revisit it. Like it's like any area of your business. You need to constantly be going back and evaluating and looking at the data and what is it telling us? And are these things working? And it's this balance of let's stay the course and keep executing on what's working. And let's keep looking for these opportunities to make the tweaks and refinements to get even better results.
That's absolutely it. And I think that what you just said is really important. Tweaks and refinements. Again, what I've seen historically with my clients who've done really, really well, when they are whipping around and trying lots of new things, it's, I always tell this story about how, because it legitimately happened. I have a kiddo who's a son, and he and his little buddy, when they were like, I don't know, 5 or 6, were out in the backyard, and somehow they had a magnifying glass. And then my husband and his dad were talking with the kids and like, ooh, if you hold the magnifying glass down and the sun goes through, it'll catch fire on things. Good news, there were adults around, but the kids were like holding it and trying to get the little smoke to happen. And it would happen, but it's just like that with marketing. If you are moving your magnifying glass, you will not catch smoke, but you do need to hold it there. And then if you're going to set a fire in a positive way, which maybe means sales and all the good things, you might want to move it over and try one a little bit later. But I think what's key is stick to it and make small refinements. But as much as you can stay consistent and holding still, the more people will be able to find you, because that is what marketing is. It's like, hey, I'm over here, come look at me. If you can draw people to you, if you're staying static, it's easier for them to find you.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Definitely that balance of like staying consistent, sticking with the things for the long haul, and where are the opportunities to make those little tweaks and improvements.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go back to what we had started this conversation with, which is nothing works and everything works. Tell me about, I want to hear like a specific like memory that you have of like something you did in marketing where you're like, nothing's working. Oh, everything's actually working.
Okay, so it was back in time, quite a few years ago. We did this thing where over the summer we put a lot of pressure on some Facebook ads. And I had a proven offer. It was a great sales course. It still is a great sales course, great course. But I put all the pressure on a 12-week run where people had to buy it. And guess what? We had like no one buy it. And the whole point was everyone was going to buy the course, and then they got a ticket to my live event, and then I would sell them there. And so where I got stuck was they didn't follow the pathway. Where was everything actually working? Well, I was behind the scenes putting people actually already into a program. So we were able to still fill our live event. We were still able to do all the things. And then I remember there was one more step to it that really made me see it's not working, it's working. We had an experience where we spent about 10 weeks later that year doing a lot of content marketing. And once a week, I would host like a live experience. And people were not buying from it. And it was making me about to go crazy, because the whole point was we market, they show up, I serve them, they join my program, right? That's what we all want to do. Well, interestingly
Seems like
enough,
a great plan.
we all want to do it. Interestingly enough, my goal was to put 10 more people into my mastermind during that time. And when I got to January, because it was from like November to like first week of January, I had 13 new people in my mastermind. And I went, wait a minute, what happened? So what I realized was, again, the people that I was serving through the marketing, they were showing up and receiving from it. They just weren't stepping into buying. But I went back and looked, and I was like, oh, I got 3 referrals over here. I had 2 people renew. So I did all that activity. And while it didn't directly lead me to the sales, like I couldn't point my finger, when we actually went back and looked, here's what we noticed. And this, I think, is the key. My ideal client, I want to be careful how I say this, doesn't always participate. And here's what I mean by that. They see all my stuff. Then when they're activated, they reach out and say, Laura, let's get going. Oftentimes, the people who are participating me when I'm doing marketing activities are hanging around and they're doing their things, and maybe they'll buy and maybe they won't. So what I know and what I've learned about my style of marketing is it's meant for me to be seen. And I want everyone to hear this. You may not get the like numbers or the reposts and shares and comments and direct people sign up, but they're seeing you. My ideal client has watched everything I've done, never ever comments on it, and kind of like comes in through a back channel and then buys from me. What I do know though is when I don't do the outward marketing, they're not having me as front of mind awareness to then show up in like the back doorway of coming into my program. So that's everything is working and nothing is working. That's kind of what I mean when I say that.
I am so glad we are talking about this because I see posts about this. I will post about it on occasion that like there are lurkers. There are
Mhm.
people who are watching you. So even if like you write this awesome LinkedIn post and you're so excited about it and the algorithm just sucks that day and doesn't get you as many views and as much engagement as you normally do, it does not mean that that content was wasted, because there are people seeing it who are not engaging, who might just reach out when the timing is right. And that one message comes through that's like that last little kick they needed to get them over and be like, okay, I'm going to send her a DM and find out what it's like to work with her. Because it happens
all the time. Like, I know one of my clients, we just had this conversation about the ecosystem, and we were trying to figure out what was causing people to buy from her. We went and like literally looked up a person's name, and we found like this gal had been in her world for like 2 years. She'd gone to a couple free master classes. She'd downloaded a free report. I think she even bought like a little workshop. She said yes to one text and responded. She got an email that actually got her onto the call. And then when we looked at it, we can't exactly tell what we think. We can tell which one she responded to based on what the ads were doing. So it was one of those moments where I really let her take some pressure off her ads gal, because if the ad wasn't there and the gal didn't see it in her feed, maybe when the email came over, she wouldn't have seen it for the second time that made her respond to it. Like if we hadn't sent the text, maybe she wouldn't have like, there's all these moments. It's almost like a ping pong ball machine. No, it's not called that.
Yeah.
Pinball machine.
Yeah.
Where there's all the little things, and the person is the pinball, and sometimes they need to go through and ricochet off of everything before they score with you. But if you don't have all those other opportunities, it's like the ball just goes out into the ether and doesn't have an opportunity to come back into working with you.
Yes. Yes. I absolutely love that point. I don't know the latest research, but the last I knew, it's like we need to see a message 7 times before we remember it. So
Yep.
a lot of times, right, business owners can feel like, we kept doing these things, like we kept posting and we kept sending emails, but like we're not seeing the results, and the results do come. They really, really do. I just had someone reach out and book a discovery call recently. She heard me on a podcast that was like 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because I spent a whole year when I first I was like, this is going to be my year of getting on podcasts. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's something I want to do. And it was a few years ago. So I just started reaching out to people in my network, and I'm like, I'm looking to get on podcasts, and you put that out there and things come in. And I forget, I think I was over like 30 podcasts that first year. And at the end of the year, I sat there and I was like, okay, it was a good experience. I learned a lot. I practiced, right? A lot of like having these conversations and being more comfortable speaking, and sometimes not knowing what questions are going to get thrown at me. It was a great learning experience. And I was also like, okay, I didn't get any clients that I could tie back to those podcasts. And so going into the next year, I said, it's not that I'm going to not be on podcasts. If someone asks me, and this is still how I approach it, if someone asks me, I'll evaluate it, see if it's a good fit, and say yes if it is. And if it's not, I'll say, thanks for the opportunity, but I just don't think it's a good fit. But I'm not going to like spend all my time going out looking for podcasts. And that really changed the game of it. And now I see these results that come over time, where someone's like, oh, I just heard you on this podcast. Like, I would love to learn more about working with you. And so you don't know how many people out there are seeing you and hearing you, and just aren't ready yet to like take that step and talk to you.
I love that you said that, because it's funny. I have a new to me client who just joined probably about a month ago. And it's great because we've already had outstanding results for her. She gave me like a funny little testimonial of like, I'm 30 days in and I have already made like many times over my investment with you. I was like, that's a good one to hear. But I have to tell you how she came to me. I think I did a guest experting experience in a group that she's in, maybe back in last March, maybe even April. And again, it was one of those moments where great experience. I gave out lots of great things, amazing people. I didn't have the immediate, yes, Laura, I want to work with you. Guess what? She wasn't even in the group when I did that. She joined the group like a month ago. And as she was going through past recordings, something about mine stood out. She watched it. I gave an offer. And this is the funniest thing. The offer that I gave almost doesn't even exist anymore. I was like, oh crap, do I sell something? I can't deliver. Good news is I still have something very similar. So when she reached out and asked if she could join, I gave her an invitation, a link, and she bought. But that's the thing of like marketing sometimes is also like planting seeds. You can't count out if you don't get immediacy in response, which again, I think we've talked about this before. It really matches why you need to not only be consistent, you need to like give things space and time. Because I don't know if you know this and you talk with your clients about it, I'm sure you do. I know what my sales cycle is. Most women around me have about a 6-month window with a sales cycle for me. And what I found is really interesting. It doesn't mean it takes everyone 6 months to buy from me. And in fact, sometimes people become aware of me, and then like a couple months later, they attend something. And then a month or so later, they buy. So for them, it feels like they just met me and they're buying right away. But when I go back and look, I can see it. And since I know that, I know I need to be consistently planting seeds so that I don't have to wait 6 months to sign a client. I can sign clients every single month because everyone's in their own like 3 to 6 month cycle.
Yes. Yes. Completely. And it always strikes me, and I haven't quite figured out a good response to this yet,
Mm.
but it always strikes me when someone asks, like, so this show that we're doing right now, like this is new. I started it earlier this year. And I will have people ask me like, so how's it working for you? Are you getting clients from it? And I was like, I don't look at it that way. Like that's
Hmm.
not I
That's not
hope
its
that
job.
yeah, it's not the job is not to deliver me clients. The job is to give me that opportunity to go out and have these conversations with amazing business owners who have stories to tell and lessons to learn to share with everybody, for me to provide that value to my audience. And yeah, hopefully eventually at some point, like, and there have been
Hmm.
roundabout ways that, clients have come to me through it, but it's like, I don't approach my marketing in that way where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this tactic and I'm going to get this
Hmm.
result. Back to how we started this conversation. That's just not, it's not how I look at it for myself. And it's certainly not the way I approach it with my clients.
Yep, I feel the same way. I actually ask a different question with my clients, which is I ask them to tell me why it's working. And it's a
Mhm.
really interesting thing. Instead of is it working, why is it working? And we did this on a team call the other day with one of our clients. I was like, tell me why it's working. Because I shut up. I'm like, look, everything's working. And she's like, it is it? I'm like, well, wait a minute. Tell me why it's working. And what she then did was give me evidence. Well, 3 people bought this week. We had 14 people book calls. Oh, my team has a person she's texting with that wants to buy. Like when you ask, how is it working? Why is it working? It's a different question and it has people start to see. Because here's the other thing, I have one beloved client who we've had a very transparent conversation. She approaches many things with the past didn't work. Well, I've tried everything and nothing's work. I've tried everything and nothing's work. I'm going to try this, but I don't think it's going to work. And I'm like, when you change your attitude to see how it's working, what is working, what you actually are receiving, because things are not always direct, sometimes they're indirect, but when you do that, it is
Mhm.
remarkable how quickly you actually see and get results because your lens has changed.
Yes. And I love that. I love that reframe and that slight tweak to the question to make it so much more powerful, because I think that it also allows you that opportunity to see what, obviously you're focusing on what is working about it, and it probably allows you more of the opportunity to think, oh, well maybe I could tweak it in this way, or maybe this is something I could do a little bit differently, right? If we're doing a tactic and maybe it's we're enjoying it, but maybe it's just like taking up too much time. Like, okay, well, maybe we could cut back a little bit on how often we're doing that kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny you said that because I do actually have a story. A couple of years ago, I always get a little bit lost in the land of time, so that could be 2 or 7. We had been heavily invested in marketing and doing a lot of activity. Like, it was a large investment, it was a large team, it was a large activity, and I got to a place where I couldn't tell what was working, so I actually did a purposeful pause. I on purpose stopped almost everything and kind of let it ride for a few months to see what activities were long term and actually giving me results, what was draining my energy, what was making me feel good. And then we allowed ourselves to just put other things back on the plate because we'd gotten so like
Mm.
doing so many things. And I think sometimes you think, well, I have to do all these things to get to our results. But what we got to a place where we couldn't tell which one was the one. And I just felt overwhelmed, exhausted, and too much on my plate. So we purposely paused everything. And what I watched is I watched a few things still trickle in a couple clients. I'm like, oh, do I like that? Does it feel good? I got to evaluate and we restructured how I would show up online and behind the scenes to call in my clients versus just stay in this machine of keeping things moving.
Yes, yes, yes. I feel like I'm seeing more and more posts in a similar vein on LinkedIn where it's like, okay, we're getting towards the end of the year, holiday time for many of us. And it's like, I just need time. Like, I need to step away. Like, I read a few posts this morning where people are like, I'm going to be offline. So, hope you guys have great holidays. Like, see you in the new year. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, because that is something for sure that I tell my clients, and even just, through content that I create, is like, if you feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill and you don't want to be creating content, and you're like, if your heart is not in it, in whatever
Mhm.
it is that you're doing, I love purposeful pause. I love that
Mhm.
phrase. It's like, it's okay. It's okay.
Mhm.
Like, because the more you push, the less results you're going to see. And so taking that time to step back, and sometimes it's just about giving yourself some breathing room, and like you said, giving those things time to see what actually comes
Mhm.
through from them. I think there's so much value in doing that.
Yeah, because I think the key is that we are taught the volume is what matters. And I don't actually think that's true. I think that sometimes what happens, I always like to say, I would rather speak to 10 people 10 times versus 100 people once. And so, what a
Yes.
lot of marketing and content is just volume, like just churn things out as much as you possibly can. And here's what I've learned with that is why does that work or not work? Well, if you put out 100 pieces of content and 3 people buy from you, well, that's the average 3% conversion. All the stuff. But maybe you didn't have to do all 100. And if you actually were purposeful and you were thoughtful and you were matched and you're aligned, maybe you would only need to do like 6 or 7 activities and you would still get your 3 clients. So I think
Yeah.
the key is match to your rhythm of energy, match to the way your ideal client absorbs information, match to what you actually feel good and aligned doing, and stay consistent. I know that, again, I always like to say, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation, it's like the unsexy side of
Yeah.
business. It's like 1 day and $1 million. No, I've always told my son who's 13, if it sounds too good to be true, go check it out again. But
Yep.
when you do things that are thoughtful and consistent, you can actually also not have to do crazy, insane volumes. And if it's not your natural state, there's some people out there who are like generators and it feels good for them to like constantly be on and constantly be giving. Do that if that's your jam. For me, that would make me go hide in a corner. I like to do 1 or 2 purposeful things a week and serve my amazing clients. And that I've learned. And when I know that, I'm not pushing that boulder up the hill like you were talking about.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. I say that a lot, is like, it's not always doing a better job or getting better results from your marketing usually is not about adding more to your already full plate. It's about, I love giving clients permission. Like, stop doing that thing. Like, if you hate doing it and you're really not seeing results, like, just stop doing it. Let's like wipe the slate clean. Let's start fresh. Get out a new sheet of paper and say, okay, what does the marketing plan look like going forward? What stays, what goes, what do we add, what can we take away?
Mm.
It's
I
oh,
I
such
love
a
that
fun
you say
process.
that, and I think that's like there's such great thing is go find the experts. Like I know what my strength is. I know what it's not. Like I do know. Like I love talking with people who are just geeked out about marketing and know all the bits and pieces. Because I'm like, bring me the people. I can show you how to close. I can show you how to create the offers. That's my bailiwick. But what I always recommend is that if you feel stuck, don't just try to do it on your own. Go find
Yes.
an expert, a mentor, and also know this other really key component. There's a difference between hiring a strategist who can tell you what to do and then you go do it or your team goes and does it versus hiring someone who does the done for you services. Make sure that you know which one you need. I think a lot of people think they need more doers to go do, but there's not a strategy behind it, or they get these great strategies but then they can't implement it. So make sure that you know that you're getting the right thing, because I think about unfudging your marketing, I'm like, wait a minute, where were some of the missteps? It's when I hired doers and didn't have the strategy, or I had all the great strategy and no ability to implement. You really do need to have both components and know which one you need at different times.
I promise I did not pay her to say that. I promise.
But it's true. It's exactly how I feel.
It's so true. So true. Laura, our time has flown by today. We have covered so much ground. I think provided really great takeaways, lessons learned for our listeners. Is there any last thing that we didn't touch on, or maybe we did and you just want to leave as like your make sure you remember this?
A golden ticket. So, number one, no amount of marketing will get you the results you want if you aren't completely clear on who your ideal client is and have offers that are outstanding that they want to buy. So make sure that what you're selling, your expertise and how you package it up is locked in, not just before, but while you're doing marketing, because marketing is about amplification, attracting new aligned clients. So if you're doing all the come look at me, but you don't have the sales stuff locked in, there will be a miss. And then the other side of that is if you have great offers and you're not doing the other side of it, if you are not personally out there doing the motions, the marketing, go find yourself somebody who can support you with that. It's really, I say peanut butter and jelly, both. And if you are missing one side of the equation, you're going to find yourself faltering. Most people who show up on my doorstep and want more clients, I'm asking, well, what are you doing for more marketing? And the ones who need more sales, I was like, what are you selling? So just make sure you have the both and. That's my big thing.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time and sharing all of your experience and insights. If anyone wants to reach out to you or learn more about the work that you do, the way you serve clients, what is the best way for them to do that?
Come reach me on LinkedIn. I'm a real life human. Ask me questions, DM me. I actually respond to people's messages. No bad questions, but ask me what's going on. And then if you'd like, I have a really special book that's on my website, laurawrightofficial.com, which is called No Woman Down. And it's 51 exercises for creating an income rise. So if you just find yourself needing like that little burst of energy to figure out how to go connect and make money and move your business forward, go grab it. It's totally free. That's the reason why I did it, so I can help more people. And yeah, guys, you can even listen to it, but it is meant to help people get in motion. And that's really what I want to leave you with is thank you for letting me be here. And to everyone who's listening, go take action. That's the thing that works all the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura.